everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to do a physical TBR tour. It's not crazy, like I've seen TBR tours on here that are hundreds, 200s, thousands of books. Mine, I don't know how many, but it's definitely smaller than that. But I am really excited to go through this because this is absolutely the most physical books I have ever had that I haven't read. So I'm really excited, and some of these I've had for a long time. I mean, middle school long time, which is actually ridiculous. So yeah, I just wanted to go through them all, talk about them. Maybe you could add them to your TBR, but also mostly for you to tell me what I should prioritize reading next. This will also kind of be an unhauling because I do know a few of these I think I'm getting rid of. They've just been on here for way too long, or I just got them for free, or things that I'm kind of like, I'm not actually ever going to read this book. I'm also always buying a book and then immediately reading that one. So then like any other book that I maybe didn't do that with just keeps getting pushed down and pushed down, pushed down. So basically, if I'm not reading a book right when I buy it, it's probably going to end up on here for a while, which is a problem. I also absolutely judge a book by its cover. Like, obviously not always, but a lot of these are ones that I was like, that looks like a fun cover. Purchase. So then when I do that, obviously I'm buying the books, I think it's cute, and then later when I'm actually deciding what I want to read, I'm not in the mood for any of them. So there's a pretty good genre sphere here as well. Like, there's some mysteries, there's horror, there's a lot of romance on this TBR for sure. At the end of this, I will absolutely be counting all of these and seeing just how many I have. Basically, sit back, relax, pull out your Goodreads so you can add these to your TBR as well. God, if I was going through my Goodreads TBR, I think that there's at least 300 books on there. But without further ado, let's just jump into it. First, I'm gonna go through a few of these that are the ones that I'm 90% sure I'm unhauling. Most of them are ones that I got for free from a coworker, which shout out, love you, thank you so much. I took them because they were free books, and now I'm just not sure if I'll actually ever read these, and I don't really have like a strong interest in them anymore. First is Forced Bonds by J. Bree. This is the fourth book in this series, and I believe it's a YA fantasy, and I'm probably never going to get to this. The Right Hand of Evil by John Saul. This is so funny to me. I'm assuming this is the author, and this just makes me laugh so hard, honestly. The League of Gentlewoman Witches by India Holton. I've actually heard some good things about this one, so this one I'm kind of on the fence of keeping, but also maybe not. Emergency Contact by Mary H.K. Choi. Shiver by Maggie Stiefvater. I'm sure that's not right. I'm sorry. And also what I believe is the next book in the series, Linger by the same author. These are also just YA fantasies that I don't think I'll get to. Everything by Nicola Yoon. The Heaven and Earth Grocery Store by James McBride. I know that this book is like very like critically acclaimed. I think it's won some awards. I've seen people talk about it a lot, but I started it and I just like know that this is not my type of book. I have no doubt that it's amazing, but I just don't think it's for me. A Witch in Time by Constance Sayers. I started it and I just like could not get into it. It's kind of like a fantasy, but not really. I don't really know how to describe it. It's like a fantasy lit fic, but I never finished it. I just don't think that I will ever finish it. My cat is scratching the back of my chair. Oh my god, some of these are so dusty. The Ladies of the Secret Circus by oh my gosh, this is also by Constance Sayers. I'm not sure how to say her last name. I did not know that these were by the same author. So this one I also started and did not finish. And I just don't love this style of writing or book. I'm not sure. Okay, so now we're kind of leaving the unhaul territory. Some of these, again, I still might, but now we're out of the for sure, I just know that I'm not going to read that pile. Never Ever by Sarah Sadie. I've had this on my TBR since middle school, I think. I can't get rid of it yet. It's a Peter Pan retelling, and there is something about it. I think that I started it and I never finished it when I was younger because I have a weird memory of this book. I do love just like fairy tale retellings or retellings in general. So I am like really intrigued by this. Turtles All the Way Down by John Green. Love John Green. He's one of my favorite authors, and I don't know why I just never got to this one. I will absolutely be reading this Eventually. I do think it'll be on my TBR a little longer, but I will read it. The Island of Missing Trees by Alif Shafak. I apologize for this whole video if I'm mispronouncing any names. I'm very bad at that. I believe it was from a blind date with a book, and I was like kind of uninterested, but I was just reading the back. I just see the words grow in their forbidden love for each other. I'm kind of in. Like, I am a sucker for forbidden love, for a romance that feels so high stakes, end of the world, and that is what this is giving. I'm not sure if that's true, but I am intrigued. Hopefully we'll get to it soon. Love in the Time of Serial Killers by Alicia Thompson. I just love this cover. I got it for a gift recently, but I definitely will be reading this. Like, I'm just absolutely obsessed. This is so cute. This one was also a recent gift, The Love Hypothesis by Allie Hazelwood. I haven't read any Allie Hazelwood, so I definitely do want to read this. I've heard so much about her books. People really love her romances, but I know that in one of her books there's nodding, and that's I'm just not really into nodding, and it always like kind of like grosses me out. And like, I'm not shaming you, like, if you're into nodding, like, you know, there's something for everyone, but it's not for me. We've officially gone through all the books that were just like stacked on top or sitting next to my TBR cart, and we are now officially pulling books off of my TBR cart. So these are all the ones that fit in this cart that I got from Amazon, I believe. I got this little to be read sign from Etsy. I'll see if I can find the shop to link below. One Last Summer by Kate Spencer. I got this one in a blind date with a book. I'm a sucker for those. They're always gonna get me. And the little blurb it said was that it's similar. Oh my god. The little blurb said it was similar to Emily Henry, which is why I picked it. My cat's just gonna hang out here behind me now, I guess. Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. So I got this when I was visiting New York, and I went to, I believe it's called the Lace Bodice. It's like the romance bookstore in Brooklyn. And I saw this cover and immediately just fell in love with it. I think it's so pretty. It's the 10th anniversary edition. I'm a sucker for good sprayed edges. And when I saw that this said, "Read to me, sweetheart," I said purchase immediately. I was also talked in to buying it from two of my friends that had read this already and were like, it's amazing, and were telling me how there's a series connected to this series. Basically, in this book, there's a fan fiction, and I guess the fans of this book loved the fan fiction so much that the author wrote the fan fiction that's in this book in real life. I think that makes sense. But the funny thing is, was when my friends were like telling me about this book, I was like, why does this sound so familiar? I must have just seen it on TikTok or something. And then I got home and I saw that I have it on my shelf. So I actually read this book when I was younger already, but I kept it on my TBR cart because I like do not remember it at all. We'll see if when I start reading it again, if it all comes back to me, and then maybe I won't feel like I need to reread the whole thing. I don't know. Leather and Lark by Bryn Weaver. Shot in the Dark by Mary Dublin and Anne Kensley. I actually got this book sent to me by the authors. They reached out to me on Instagram and wanted to send it to me, so it's signed, which is really cool. It's a fantasy book about fairies, so I'm definitely very intrigued. I just haven't gotten to it. Sometimes it takes me forever to get to fantasy because I cannot read back-to-back fantasies. I need to like space them out and read like fluffy romances or things like that in between. I don't know why, it's just how my brain works. But I know that they also just released the sequel to this, I believe, so I definitely want to get to this soon. Lady Midnight by Cassandra Clare. I actually like really need to get to this book soon. This is the first book in the Dark Artifices series. So if you watch my vlog, you know that I am obsessed with Immortal Instruments, and it was one of like my favorite series like back in the day when they were first coming out. I read the entire City of Bones Mortal Instruments series and the Infernal Devices series multiple times. And I love them, but when I kind of dipped from reading is when Cassandra was releasing this series, and I believe there's one other series in the Mortal Instruments world that I never read because I kind of was just in my weird reading dull. So like even just like looking at this cover and like looking at the font is so nostalgic to me, and I really want to get into it. But I haven't read a YA fantasy since I got back into reading, so there's a part of me that is like, what if I don't like YA fantasy anymore, because obviously before when I was reading them, I was the target audience, but now I'm a little bit older than the target audience. I guess I'm worried about ruining the world for myself and the feelings that I had towards the other two series. But a part of me also knows that I'm probably going to love these books, so I'm definitely going to get to it soon. But this is also a thick book, so it's a little intimidating. Something that's in the same world but is a little bit less of a commitment, though, is the Ghosts of the Shadow Market. This is like a bunch of short stories in the Shadowhunters universe connected to the Cassandra Clare book that I just showed you. So I'm intrigued to maybe start reading just some of the short stories, since I could read like a short story, put the book down, you know, pick it up when I want to read the next one, sort of thing. So maybe I'll do this as like my like gateway drug back into the Shadowhunters world. The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston. Does It Hurt by H.D. Carlton. Not in Love by Allie Hazelwood. Unfortunately Yours by Tessa Bailey. This is just a funny little book that I've had, again, since like middle school that I never read. I love Beauty and the Beast. I think you can see my pillow back there. She's my favorite princess, always has been. My mom years and years ago got me this book from Disney World that is called The Beast Within by Valentino. Is that the author? That's like the only name on here. A Tale of Beauty's Prince. So it's kind of the Beast story before Beauty and the Beast, which it's so tiny, so I should just read it just because it's cute. Oh my gosh, these books are like so packed in here, I can't even get it out. Wait, what the fuck? That moment when you can't get your book off the book thing? Okay. The Fine Print by Lauren Asher. Before We Were Strangers by Renee Carlino. Once More with Feeling by Elisa Sussman. I've heard a lot of good things about this one. Oh my gosh, I've got to be dusting my books. Gothicana by Runnix. I believe this is a Beauty and the Beast retelling, which I'll eat up. I love the purple sprayed edges. I do remember seeing after I bought this that I think that this cover is AI, which is really unfortunate, but I already bought it. I don't think I'm very good at like being able to tell when something is AI. Like somebody will tell me that something's AI and I'm like, ew. So I didn't even think about it when I bought this cover, but now when I look at it, it is pretty obvious, especially in like the background. It Happened One Summer by Tessa Bailey. Salem's Lot by Stephen King. I've never read a Stephen King book or like a horror book, which is crazy to me because I love horror. It's probably my favorite genre of movie. So, and I love all of Stephen King's movies. Don't know why I've never read a book by him, but I did look it up, and a lot of people said to start with Salem's Lot if you're trying to get into Stephen King. So I bought this a while ago and I really want to get into it. I honestly might even do a video of me reading my first Stephen King book. Lake Town by Gerald DePego. This book I actually got in a bookstore in Solvang, California. Cute little bookstore. I walked in and there was this older gentleman sitting at a table. Nobody was talking to him, so I obviously had to go up and talk to him about his book. And I was intrigued. It's like a bunch of short stories following different people that live in this small town. But I got it signed, which was fun. I feel like this is such a hard shift from the rest of my TBR, but it's okay to be angry about capitalism by Bernie Sanders. It's certainly a time in the world to be angry about capitalism and a lot of other things, but The Housemaid by Frida McFadden. I've never read a Frida McFadden book, but obviously I've heard so many things, and I definitely want to read this before the movie comes out. All About Love by Bell Hooks. I've actually started this audiobook, so I'm kind of currently reading it, but I haven't been listening to the audiobook every day or consistently at all. Notes to Self by Emily Pine. The Evangelicals by Sarah McCammon. I believe this is a biography, but it's about leaving and growing away from the church, which is something I have experienced, so I'm very intrigued by this. Tipping the Velvet by Sarah Waters. I really do want to read more queer stories, so that's why I ended up buying this. Okay, we're on to the last shelf. This is another book that I've had since about middle school, and it is another Beauty and the Beast retelling. Bellamy and the Brute by Alicia Michaels. Flawless by Elsie Silver and Heartless by Elsie Silver. One Dark Window by Rachel Gillig. Loud by Drew Affollow. Love her, icon. Dear Dolly by Dolly Alderton. I read Everything I Know About Love by her, and it rewired my brain. A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. A Court of Frost and Starlight by Sarah J. Maas. And A Court of Wings and Ruin by Sarah J. Maas. So, One, I know it's crazy that I haven't read these yet. Two, I'm unsure if I'm going to. So I actually got this whole series except for the last book when my mom let me do like the Barnes & Noble 3-minute challenge. I grabbed all these. If you guys have bought physical goods from somebody that you later found out was a shitty person potentially, let me know what you did with those items afterwards. This is another one I've had since middle school. It is The Ash Princess by Laura Sebastian. Another I've had for a very long time. This is The Return by Ridley Pearson. So when I was younger, one of the first large series I read was Kingdom Keepers by the same author, and it's basically about these kids who turn into holograms at the Disney parks at night and protect it from the Disney villains. I'm a big Disney fan. I loved that series. So when I saw that there was a book that follows the Disneyland parks, I was definitely intrigued. But again, I feel like this is even kind of younger than YA. It's a pretty like young audience, but I just loved these books so much and I think they're so fun. So I didn't get rid of it because I was like, I could see myself maybe reading it one day, but I think it's just a little bit of a nostalgia thing and I can't get myself to get rid of it. And ending with an absolute bang, Barbarian Lover by Ruby Dixon. This is part of the Ice Planet Barbarian series. If you don't know, there's like 16 of these books or something. I've read the first two. I wouldn't say they're great books, but they are absolutely entertaining and very fun to read. So I will be continuing this series. So those are all the books on my physical TBR, and now it is time to count them and see how many there are. I have way more than I thought. That's a problem. First of all, place your guesses. Place your guesses. How many books did I go through? Before I started this video, had been telling everyone, oh, I have like 20 unread books. Apparently, I have no concept of being able to like look at something and know how many there are. I have, drumroll, 52 physical unread books. That's ridiculous. And I know that's not even like the craziest TBR that you will see on YouTube, but that is ridiculous to me. Especially because I'm not like a super fast reader. I have a full-time job. I'm not like just reading for YouTube. Like last year, I only read 40 books, or did I get to 50 last year? I don't remember, but around there. So like basically this whole TBR cart is like what I'll read in a year, typically. That's awesome. Perhaps need to go on a book buying ban. Will I actually do that? Probably not. But yeah, so this was so fun. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I will say this was fun for me because I honestly forgot about some of these and exactly what they were. So it kind of rejuvenates my excitement to read from my TBR, and hopefully I'm not going to really put myself on a book buying ban, but I'm going to like half put myself on a book buying ban. I'm just going to remind myself every time I go to a bookstore, be like, Kaylin, hey, you have 52 books at home. 52 books that are not read and just sitting there sad being like, why aren't you reading me? I'm glad that this put things into perspective for me. But let me know which books I should prioritize reading next. If any of your favorite books are on here, let me know. I'll see you next time with hopefully a smaller TBR.